Hello, my name is AJ, and I'm here talking on behalf of Kettering University Baja SAE. So for the last event we attended was our 2019 California SAE Competition. Since, of course, with COVID, last year there were no events for us to attend. And we were able to rank 21st overall, 18th in sales, 4th in cost, 63rd in design, 50th in acceleration, 59th in hill climb, 23rd in maneuverability, 21st in suspension, and 21st in endurance. For the last Midnight Mayhem we were able to attend, which was in 2019 also of September, we were able to rank 9th overall, 12th maneuverability, 14th in Baja Cross, 10th in endurance, and 27th for acceleration. This is what our best car performed. To the smaller events like Midnight Mayhem and Winter Baja, we tend to bring two cars to allow us to have one competitive car so we get the feeling of competing like a normal event, and we bring a second car to allow us to train new members and have them have hands-on driving experience in an actual event. It's one thing whipping around the parking lot or around the track on campus, but it's another thing actually being out there, competing, racing, having many other cars on the track with you. So we always try to bring two cars to allow us to help grow the team and continue with growth. For our Winter Baja 2020, which was the last event we've even attended for Baja, right, because that was about a month before COVID, we were able to rank 9th and 14th in endurance. Even though we brought the same format, a competitive car and a not as competitive car, our not as competitive car is still able to rank relatively high and still provide a good platform for learning and building up experience in the younger members that went. So our team goals for this upcoming season involve training new members. We're also trying to be prepared to have our car finished for the 2021 competition season, because although it's not looking so great for actual in-person events, we are still, planning, hoping, and then also we still have the virtual events we have to attend. So following this, once we have everything finished for the 2021 season, we need to start preparing the team for 2022, which the big change for 2022 is the change of this vehicle drivetrain to four-wheel drive, which brings in a set of engineering challenges associated with it we haven't seen before. We personally, as a team, have not done a four-wheel drive car as long as anyone can remember, and this is a whole new experience, and we really don't know where to start. So our challenges with this is new team members. We currently have around 25 new members on a team of probably around 40-ish students. Going along with this is we had a lot of veteran members that graduated. With the gap we currently have with COVID because of restrictions going to our workspace, we have almost a year where we have very little time with our car in the shop working on it. So we have a lot of members who have joined in the meantime, but we've also had a lot of members graduating. With the format of Kettering, our semesters are split in half, or half our teams here at one time, half our teams here another time. So we have a lot of members that come in from multiple time frames, cover the year, but we've also lost a lot of members at the same time in that time frame, and it's a little difficult being able to carry on the knowledge that those veteran members had. We expected that they were going to be graduating around the summertime of 2020, but we lost 6 months, for example, with our A-section veterans of actually teaching due to our COVID restrictions. So every team's having this difficulty, I feel like, so we're not the only ones, but it's definitely hurt us with a lot of our veteran members graduating all around the same time. but we're very thankful we have a lot of new members coming in. It's going to take some time to get up to speed. With the new members, though, we have been able to take the car out for driving. Since we aren't inside and we can do it safely, we've been visiting off-road parks that allow us to have new members drive. So we've had a couple veteran members who are staying in the Flint area who are able to help go with and tow the car, and they're able to get time out driving. It's not an actual competition, of course, but it gives them a familiarization with how the car performs, how the suspension actuates, how everything's supposed to feel, how steering, it's very different compared to a car, just the way everything reacts. And it's taking some time to get our new members up to speed, but it's great that we're even able to have this opportunity. So, for example, our fall B-section students were able to have a lot of time practicing driving. So we're going to come out at our first competition once it resumes in person. Fantastic from a driving aspect, as long as we can build up the team to a mechanical aspect and physical car that's going to perform well aspect. So with this knowledge and skill building, we lost some veteran members who were very good machinists. So we still have some members who are able to operate some machines, but nothing like the students we lost. We've also lost students who are able to weld, and we still have new students coming in who are capable of welding, but they're not at the same standard as we saw with our veteran members who have been on the team for years and have made multiple cars now. So going along with this, part production management is going to be a little rough once we get back in the shop. We are allowed occasional access to our garage, but really based off the schedule and all that Kettering has and when classes are, we really don't have much time to actually be in the shop with our time restrictions we currently have. So part production is going to be tough once we get back in because we don't know really where everything's at. We have a vague idea remembering of like, oh yeah, we had these parts machined, but we kind of need to go through, sit down and say, okay, we have these parts here, these parts here, these parts are good, these parts we machined, but they're not good, they didn't come out right, tolerance is a little off, which go along with the skill building is just understanding what is actually going to work for what. And then also we need to take a look at what parts are going to need changed for four-wheel drive. So future design changes, kind of talking about, we have for 2022, we have to switch to a four-wheel drive setup on the car. So there's associated frame changes that go along with this. So, for example, we have to have the drive shaft going from the rear of the car to the front of the car to actually power the front axle. And we kind of need to look at what's the best way of doing that. And I think it's going to be interesting to see with our new veteran or our new members joining the team, some fresh ideas. And a lot of people haven't seen other teams yet just because they've only really been on campus, been around our cars. So it'll be interesting to see what ideas they come up with, especially being younger students and new to college. We also have to make suspension changes going along with this. And as we'll see in the next slides, our car, we started making changes to help accommodate four-wheel drive because we knew about it when this car is being designed. But we still have to make additional changes and go through and tweak some things, adjust some things to make sure it's actually going to properly work with four-wheel drive. We are hoping to keep the same general platform just to make it simpler for the students on the team to build off of it. It's easier just kind of continue where the veteran members left us with and build on additionally than try and start from scratch, because we did have veteran members that went through and took a look at our suspension geometry and said, okay, this is about as ideal compromise of what we're going to get between bump steer, suspension travel, and all that. Also along with FEA analysis, looking at what parts need strength where. So generally speaking, most of our components are laid out in a certain way, and we just have to go through and adjust them slightly to allow for four-wheel drive. And we may have to reanalyze our systems to make sure they're actually going to hold up to the function of what we need. So taking a look at our 2021 design that we currently have, we are running A-arms in the front, currently fabricated out of sheet metal. We previously were using tube, but the sheet metal allowed for a little bit better strength, I believe, and just better clearances and better customability, because it's going to be harder to make these parts to clear. For example, we'll see in the next slide our shocks. Our shock is going to be hard to clear and make in a strong fashion using tube. So with this, we are running like this design here. It'd be harder to run tube with that. So we're switching to a sheet metal construction for our front suspension to allow for ease of production, and also a little bit more customizability to kind of dial in what our FEA told us. Using this setup with our bearing mounted in our upright, this already accommodates for us for a four-wheel drive conversion better than if we were running a spindle with a hub having to have the bearing in it that would ride on it. So with this, it's going to be a little easier. We still have to go through and see, hey, where are we actually going to put this differential front? How is this going to interfere with our suspension? How is this going to interfere with our shock placement? And what kind of adjustments do we have to make? We think in general we're going to be okay, but we still actually have to do the work and put in design of where this is all going to fit. We tried to, when we designed the 2021 car, which was originally the 2020 car, to kind of have this in mind already. Along with this, we also made a change of moving the steering rack a little bit farther forward to allow for better clearance of the front drive shafts. For our rear suspension, we are switching to a trailing arm design. We figured that would be a little bit stronger than our previous A-arm construction in the rear, and also help keep things a little bit better for four-wheel drive. This does change our suspension dynamics a little bit and the way we run our components. So for shocks, we had to make custom clevises that are screwed on the end to help clear around the shock. The trailing arm will go right through there, where the standard little loop that comes on the end of the shock would be harder to fit in there without like complex manufacturing. So this is the easiest way to manufacture the trailing arms, which, going back to our trailing arms, we're actually looking at potentially switching this up, going kind of relating to why our skill loss with when our veterans graduated. Machining built like this is not the simplest thing to do. So we're looking at switching to easier construction to such as sheet metal like our front suspension, or switching to an extrusion style to help minimize machining and also allow for better field repairs if needed. Since we are new, we may get things wrong, and we don't have the experience to actually make these fancy parts that we are confident are going to last, or be able to make up the inventory required to run fancy parts. See, these are uprights with our rear in front. So going with this, they're already set up so we can just put bearings in and run a drive shaft through them. And this is a overview of our 2021 design, with change, of course, needed for the four-wheel drive that we're going to implement next year. We're hoping to kind of change this car a little bit to better accommodate that. But overall, it's the general idea of what we're running as a car. Still a bit more work that needs to be done that we weren't able to get to before COVID happened and the world was shut down. But this is where we're currently at. So I hope you guys all enjoyed, and thanks for taking the time to listen.